don't know.
Stella Artois.
Yeah, that's it.
Artois.
Artois.
Yes. What a day. What a day. What a glorious feeling waking up on a Sunday morning after you've beaten Australia
So comprehensively.
43-12 at Loftus.
Yeah, it was a nice victory. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were actually going to be tight before the game. I thought they had a good team lineup, and I thought ours was a bit thin, but...
No, I got a bit of a fright early on in the game. We stole the line out, but the ball was not quite far. It was gathered by Alan Alatoa. And they just flung it wide. Kanan Moody came on, tackled the inside centre channel, which is part of the rush defence. And if you don't get that guy, and your inside and outside centre can't swim around to cover the outside channel, then you found wanting and you look silly. And it just went through the hands and Kurabiti scored.
Well, we tried to, but Esterhuizen was too slow.
Yeah, they couldn't get there.
Couldn't keep up with Kurabiti, who's obviously
I think it's because of the turnover. Because of the turnover, the setup wasn't sort of...
We weren't ready for it.
Yeah, we didn't backtrack fast enough when the ball spat out and went a few meters.
But they did the right thing. They really worked that trial beautifully because their passing was excellent.
Yeah.
And then what happened was they got it out wide. They knew where and they drew the man. They drew Willie so beautifully and did the pass. So I thought that was a brilliant try from Australia. Bit of luck involved, but I mean, they executed it well.
He's a strong ball carrier, Kurabiti. You're not going to stop him.
Dude, and he smashed Kanan Moody in one tackle.
Yeah.
I saw that.
No, he's a beast. He was one of the best. If we have to talk about Australia a little bit, there's not much. If you look at Michael Hooper, who's always a huge nuisance, he stole a ball that I can remember one or two. One you say slightly illegally, but
no, completely illegally, not slightly.
Will Skelton's 140 kgs. He's just. I saw the guy live. He is absolutely massive, but he hardly got over the advantage line because it all happens fairly slowly, even with that huge bulk.
But it's also like we play that speed game at altitude, obviously, and that would have taken Will Skelton out the. Is that his name? Will Skelton out the game completely. He's good in Europe.
Yes,
where it's tight and all that, but he's.
Yeah.
I don't know why Australia didn't pick the other Arnold brother.
Yes.
He plays for. Who does he play for again? He plays overseas. Plays for one of the big teams, man.
Yes.
And he is. I always thought he was a brilliant player.
Yeah, he's very good. I thought it was him, but for some reason in the preview I said I thought it was Rory Arnold, but it was I think Richie Arnold.
Yeah,
just interesting looking guy. He's got no neck.
Because I remember him playing in Europe this year, and he always gets in a maul situation. He always gets into the maul, gets his hands on the ball, and he's quite agile. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe they've missed something there.
But you absolutely have to give it to preparation. My biggest worry before the game was that it was going to look disjointed. There was a serious lack of combinations. Daku Reinach and Lebuk have hardly ever played together. Esterhuizen and Reinach. Did I say Yaku again? No, that's his dad. Kubus Reinach and Lebuk haven't played together. Esterhuizen and very, very little. Good combination in the back three with
Willie and
those Oaks gel well. But it looked so good, and even interplay between the forwards and the backs looked really good.
I think our forwards
and it was
were very dominant, as usual. But I was actually just thinking that before, like a few hours back. I was thinking, you've got to give it to Rassie and Jacques. There's a next level of preparation that has gone into the Springboks.
5 weeks, I think, at Loftus.
But I saw an interview with the two of them on SuperSport recently. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And you can just hear how well prepared those guys are. Their alignment camps, how they constantly engage with players, how they're in constant communication with players, even the overseas guys. Dude, that stuff shows. And I worry, I don't want to ever underestimate Eddie, but I feel like Eddie's in the same space as Jake White is at the moment. He's done it, and now he's using the old school, same old mentality or methodologies, and the new guys on the block are just they've got the edge.
It's better to keep quiet than to talk all this talk and stuff. If he's got a very inexperienced. He's brought in a few debutants and stuff, and it's definitely a weaker Australian team than in the past. And then he still does all this big talk. disrespecting choosing a B team. This is not a B team.
Did you see
This is a combination between very experienced starting Springboks and a few guys that have come into the system. It's definitely not a B team.
Well, did you see the in the press conference afterwards? There was a South African journalist.
Yeah.
Who it's on the news. He said to Eddie, he says, don't you think you guys did okay considering you played a B team?
Yeah.
You know, and Eddie got cross. Eddie chirped him and said,
But he
I can't remember what he said, but Eddie had a big go at this journalist even after the press conference over. He walked to him and was still having a crack at him. But he sets himself up for that.
Yes.
And who's going to be scared of a head coach? These are journalists. They're not scared.
No.
So my thing is, I think you're quite right. Just you go in. The mental game's not going to work. With Rassie and them, you're going to have to bring it on the field.
Yeah.
They packed it. What they did was you could even hear in some of the pre-interviews how Eddie Jones was planning for that typical South African game. Big defense, big physicality, and we were running the ball from everywhere.
Yeah. 42 minutes, Australia got a penalty. There was a forward pass. I could hardly see the forward pass. I think they were slightly unlucky. And Craig Cooper took the ball, and that guy was out of breath, like you won't believe. He was gasping for air, and I saw, yes, okay. It's taking an effect, because if you're defending at altitude, it's tough for any team, even for South African teams. If you're defending for long periods of time, it's tough to keep the energy level high.
Was that movement where they would have scored, where they were called back?
Yes.
It wasn't called back because of a forward pass. It was called back for another reason. It wasn't that he had judged the pass to be forward. They called him back. I can't remember.
See a forward pass, and then there was advantage because Jean Klein was lying on the wrong side or something. Couldn't really figure out. But in any case, I think they were a little bit unlucky. There were a few passes, a few things. If it stuck, it could have been a close game. But that's what happens when you play away from home. The 50-50 stuff.
And at altitude when you're not used to it.
Altitude,
like
huge crowd, passionate crowd, amazing atmosphere in the stadium. I was in the stadium. I'll put some of the stuff up. And it was really an amazing day out at Loftus.
Yeah, Australia have got a lot of work to do if they're going to compete. We always, coming into the season, I think we have even said on one of our videos we felt they were a dark horse for the World Cup.
Yeah.
I don't think that anymore. I actually feel like they're going to be lucky if they survive.
They should start this other fly half, this Carter guy.
Yeah, and also who's the replacement scrummy instead of Nick White? McDermott. He looks better than Nick White to me.
And the problem with Nick White is if you touch him with a feather, then his jaw explodes. So that always puts you in a difficult position as a rugby player.
He's nice. He's got to live with that for the rest of his career.
Yes, unfortunately.
He's like now more of a joke than anything. That's what people think of him, especially when he plays. Yeah. Look, he's a good rugby player.
It is.
But
sorry, I had to bring that up.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So then I think Willie obviously got his hands on the ball a lot, which takes a bit of the pressure off Lubbock, and he makes the decision whether to run. And early on they just decided to run it out of our own 22, and it worked for the most part. We managed to get a bit of momentum. Kicking out a hand was okay, not brilliant, but good enough. No glaring mistakes, no penalties being kicked dead and that sort of thing. So in all, the game plan was more of a ball in hand approach, less up and unders, less box kicks. Don't know if that is something we will carry through into all our games, but for this game, they obviously thought keep the ball in hand more.
Well, it suited our
dry conditions, altitude, everything.
Not just that, it suited our scrummy and our fly half, because I don't think Ranach is very good at the kicking game.
Yeah.
He's not as good as Faf or Grant Williams or those guys. So because when he put a couple of high balls up there, they were horrible. And I don't think Mani is very good at ball in play kicking.
Yeah. No, he kicks a very low trajectory, not a lot of distance.
No, he's just that's not his thing. So with Mani and Quibus, I think you're going to get. I think if Faf starts, I think there'll be a little bit more of that. And I think against New Zealand, we have to. We can't play what we did yesterday too much. We have to go back a little bit into
we'll have
what
to
we
play
used
in their territory and try and put pressure on them defensively and try and get the ball and play.
That's going to be a completely different prospect next week. But I thought overall there were no players that were horrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna just want to run through a player breakdown, not very quickly. Just like obviously the props, even the replacement props they were all amazing. I mean the tackles that Frans Malherbe with his frame and the carries and stuff makes, it's absolutely unbelievable.
I was actually impressed with Frans Malherbe yesterday.
Yeah.
He was doing a lot of work.
Yes.
And then I feel sorry for any rugby team that at 62 minutes has to face that replacement front row.
Yeah.
You know, Koch, Thomas de Toy, Dweber's not small.
No, Dweber had a good game. He didn't miss a line out that I can remember. There was only a couple of line outs, and he carried well.
He's obviously been working on his line outs.
Bongi was the one player for me who had a bit of an indifferent game. When RG Snyman came on, we lost 2 lineouts. The communication between them was a bit bad, and there was one lineout which I thought was a bit more the jumpers issue. There was a bit of mistiming with Ori to get up into the air, and the ball went over completely. The lineouts was a bit of an issue.
I think that was the one aspect of our play that definitely was off. It was even before RG came on.
Yeah.
There were a few lineouts, and we weren't getting high in the air.
Yeah.
If they were competing properly, we would have struggled.
Yeah.
So I think that's just something to look at for the New Zealand game. We can't afford to be
Maul didn't
bad in the lineouts.
Well.
Who?
The Maul wasn't great. Our Maul. Obviously once it led to a penalty try, and it was held up. It was held up once or twice as well.
I don't think the refs are reffing the Mauls the way they used to, because I think, or maybe the laws have changed, or teams have become better at defending the Maul, because it's I find it's a lot more difficult these days to get a good Maul going, because players get to you. They come around.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's now like a legal thing, if they bound, or if there's still that swimming. I don't know what the thing is, but it was difficult.
If the Maul goes to ground, you must just stay in your position. You can't change your position. And if you're somewhere near the middle, you can contest for the ball. But like you say, I think they let one or two things go every now and then, just not to kill the game.
Maybe.
So the locks, I thought Marvin Ori and John Klein were both solid. Marvin Ori, I thought it was very good of him for the first South African try to sort of scramble to get the ball wide as quickly as possible, which led to an easy run-in by Arendse. I thought that was good play. Decent in the line-outs, decent in contact at the clearing the rucks and so on. So I thought he had a fairly good game. John Klein played well. I mean, he was good. Solid.
Very industrious.
Yeah.
Solid, physical. They were just doing their work. You know, they were getting over the ball, clearing nicely.
Yeah.
They weren't shooting the lights out.
No.
But they're good, solid international rugby players. So
I think if Arendse didn't score 3 tries, Mark van Staden probably would have been the man of the match.
I think so too.
Great steals, a great hand in Arendse's second try, where we just peeled off the Maul and just created a simple overlap. Bongi and Benambi, Arendse running from deep.
But he hit that ball flat out, and he caught it with one arm.
Yes,
that was the try of the game for me.
Great vision to see the blind and to spot the 2 guys for a number 6 flanker and to play it from there. So
you don't think there was a? It looked like a set move to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was a set move or if he just read it in the situation.
Maybe, but what happened there is what I think happened. Is it was planned. And I think that as they went down on the Maul, they got the left shoulder, which took the defense out of the blind side, and I think that the guys were ready for that. But still, it took a lot of skill and vision to execute.
Probably set because Bongi was there ready for it, because he's normally the last guy in the Maul. Yeah. But great finish. Arendse's third try, he had a bit of work to do. He even had to beat 2 guys, sort of carry them over the try line, and he was just
He gets away from them because he's a bit short.
Yeah, and he gets quite a few penalties because he's always low to the ground.
Yeah.
And it's difficult not to tackle that guy high. He's 177, I saw today.
Yeah. Australia were on the wrong end of discipline, but let's carry on with the players.
Yeah, Dwayne, very good. Pieter-Steph du Toit, one of his better games since he had the big injury, scored a try as well, worked very hard, popped up in the wide channels very well to support the outside backs.
Pieter-Steph had a good game.
Yeah.
I said yesterday on the group, I said, Pieter-Steph doesn't actually have a provincial team. He just plays for the Springboks. Yeah. Because he plays he goes a whole season and he hardly plays any provincial rugby, and then he just plays for the Springboks and he plays brilliantly.
Well, we don't see the guys in Japan. We don't know what they do there,
exactly.
and where they play and how they look. And
but he has been having injury issues.
Yes. Yeah, they're getting a bit old. But he's probably one of the ones that will start in New Zealand. We're not sure. 21 guys are going over now. Kanan Moody's been left out. 1 or 2 other Oaks have been left out. Marvin Ori, I think, and then the rest of them are basically on their way to New Zealand. Herschel Yankees is going, a few others, and most of the guys who were involved yesterday, 1 or 2 had been left out. Okay, so then Reinach and Libbok. I'm happy with what Libbok did. Reinach a little bit slow at there were a few double pumps before he passes the ball. He might not get away with that against stronger opposition.
But what I liked about him is off the back of the ruck, he wasn't just standing still and passing. He got the ball, ran a little bit, drew in a few defenders, passed. Then he was but he looks a bit chubby to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you also noticed that. Yeah. He's lost a bit of his nip. Because you know how fast he is.
Yes, he's very, very quick.
Grant Williams is so quick.
When it comes to Grant Williams just came on and it seemed like he wanted to do a bit too much on his own. I think if he just passed once or twice more, we would have scored, and it would have ended 55 instead of 43.
Maybe he's trying to play himself into the team.
Yeah.
But Grant Williams is definitely a talent.
No, he's a huge talent. Yeah.
He's so fast.
Yeah.
Man, and he's he can. I think that's like a guy that can change a game for you. A guy that can to create magic.
Yes. And Libbok spread the ball well, goal kicking much better, carried well once or twice when he needed to. They did very well with the start of the game. Pieter de Tooy missed the ball. Libbok caught it and got over the advantage line to set us up well for the start of the game. I thought he had a good, solid game.
He's got a pretty good passing game on him. Yeah. One error I thought, other than like a couple of weird kicks, is that when he had that breakdown field. And he had a man on the outside, he couldn't pass him, but all he needed to do was put a kick through.
Yes.
He just needed to pop a little kick through, and Kane Moody would have been around and onto that. I don't know, I'm not saying he would have scored, but like he went to ground, and I just thought, all you need to do is just
couple of moments. I thought once Kane Moody also was away, and he sort of didn't know what to do. He also chip a kicky maybe for the guys around him. Kane Moody also played very well.
He looks like the real deal to me.
He played the first half. He played right in front of us. We were like 6 rows in on the halfway line, and he always beats the first defender. And he had a solid game, just without the shine of scoring.
Doesn't he remind you of JP Peterson?
Yes, definitely.
A little bit.
Yeah. And then Andre Esterhuizen, to me, probably had his best game in a Springbok jersey. I always thought he was obviously very big and powerful, good at the crash ball, but his skills, his passes, very accurate passes.
And he looks fitter than what he's been.
Yeah, to set up tries. He made hardly any mistakes. I mean, he didn't knock the ball. He didn't get caught in possession much.
He's a big lad, eh?
Big lad, and very, very good, similar style of player to Darlenda. And I think he would be able to slot right in there if anything happens to Darlenda.
What's the problem with 12 is Darlenda's obviously going to be your first pick. Then you obviously that's Willemse's best position in my opinion. Then you've got, so they might be looking at these 3 guys plus as your 4 centers, whichever way they play. I don't know if we're
Jesse Kriel.
Is Jesse in New Zealand at the moment?
Jesse's in New Zealand,
but he won't start.
No, will start. After his injury, he's not there where he was when last year's Rugby Championship, when he was definitely the best outside centre.
But I thought he was good yesterday.
He was good. I
think without we would have struggled.
We haven't seen one of those magic moments in a while. But I mean, it's his first test back after his injury.
I just saw him being so good in the back line without the ball.
Yes,
meaning there was a lot of like running around,
little touches,
repositions, touches, tackling.
Did very well to release the ball and get up and play on at one stage.
I think he even got over the ball once and he stole the ball.
Yeah.
In a ruck, I think he did.
So back up there is Jesse Kriel is the only logical backup there. That's the one position where we're a little bit worried.
And fly off
backup as well. Yeah. We look. Us playing New Zealand and France and Ireland is a completely different game when it comes to Manie Libbok. We'll have to see there what's going to happen.
And Willie was good.
Willie was extremely good at when he slotted in at first receiver.
Yeah, but Willie even watch how Willie's kicking for touch, ball in play compared to Libbok.
Yeah, much better.
Willie just has a simple kicking technique.
Yeah.
And he always Libbok hooked one.
The kicking
into the crowd that was like 5 meters. I thought, oh, here we go.
Generally, the clearing kicks were very good. We're round and about the half line.
Especially in the first 15 minutes. Yeah. Because we kept Australia basically on that halfway line for 15 minutes with those kicks.
Yeah, that's basically the team. Arendse obviously.
Willie's indispensable, actually. If I think about it.
Replace that guy. No.
Anyway, no,
But Arendse can come in there, but Arendse is not the kind yet in his career. Actually think if I have to think of a player that can probably come in and help out a bit at first receiver, it would probably be a Moody more than an Arendse in future.
Maybe
when he's more experienced. Yeah, but I mean, if you've got you're thinking of a fullback who can help out at first receiver, I would say Moody's more in that mould with Kurtley Arendse then on the wing, maybe in the future somewhere as a more of a guy with vision.
But that's why you can't drop Willie as your fullback. He just brings too much. Like I know.
He really took a lot of pressure off Libbok, I think.
Arendse is like a massive talent, and he's world class.
Yeah.
But Willie's got that. Willie's he's just there.
Yeah.
You know, I would hesitate to drop Willie.
Yeah. And I thought it was really a disciplined performance by the Springboks. It's been a while that we didn't get a yellow card in an entire game, with Australia getting the 2 yellow cards, 2 penalty tries, which is also not that common. The second one, I thought that there might have been Michael Hooper, I think it was. There might have been a little bit of cover defence when the new winger, Australian winger, slapped the ball down, and Kurtley Arendse was on the outside and the penalty try.
Yeah, it was definitely a yellow card.
Yeah.
But I was also in 2 minds whether that was a penalty try.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a deliberate knock, slap down. But you know, also considering the guy would have received the ball, there was Arendse.
Yes.
I don't know. I was like, I thought to myself, if we don't get a penalty try there, then that's ref's call, fine. But the first one was definitely a penalty try.
Yes, because that maul went down because a guy brought it down and turned Marco van Staden onto his back.
Yeah, no, that was no question.
And it was over the try line already, so that was definitely for me a
players, you just got to let it happen. Let it. It's better to concede a penalty than a penalty and a yellow card.
Yeah.
I mean, a try than a try and a yellow card.
Yeah.
But I thought
our discipline was good, I felt. So
Australia just need to, they need to polish.
Yes.
They
missed Karevi. Quade Cooper didn't have a good game, and they just don't have the grunt in the forwards.
Skelton's not the answer.
Looked slow. He's big and slow. I mean, look, that guy would get tired quickly at this altitude. And I mean, we have big, powerful players that can stop him. He hardly got over the advantage line.
Shows you the difference between like a provincial tournament and international. Because we didn't pick, and we never will pick those South Africans that play for La Rochelle.
Yeah,
we're not going to pick Dylan Lates and Raymond Rule.
No.
Like,
you
know, there's a gap.
There is a gap.
And
even at European Champions Cup, there's a gap. Yeah.
Even their props are not very good at scrummaging.
No.
Like Slipper.
Yeah. No, they weren't. They got scrummed.
No, dude, that's a problem for the Aussies.
No, it's a big problem.
They've never been very good in the scrums.
No, never.
And that's a huge weakness for them. I think going into the New Zealand game, I'm a critic of Libbok.
Yeah.
I have been. I think
he's going to start.
I don't think he's the complete fly half package, especially for a tight tournament like the World Cup.
Yeah.
He played well yesterday, and he's been good for the Stormers. But that's like, that suits their style.
Yeah.
I want to see him do well in the tight contests against the New Zealanders, against the Irish, against the French. I want to see him under pressure.
Next week is going to be a big test if he starts.
Yeah. And what's cool about Faf, if Faf starts, Faf is very good defensively.
Yeah.
And he'll take a lot of pressure off. With his kicks, he'll take pressure off Libbok.
But Damien McKenzie, if he starts or Muhanga starts, they're not big guys either. So the defensive channel, I don't think, will be that big an issue for him.
But we know Muhanga's got our number.
Yeah.
We know that we hate when they start Muhanga.
Yes.
We know that he's there.
Yeah.
That's a player we fear. McKenzie can run around. He's never really troubled the Springboks.
Yeah.
But
we'll have to see next week.
Yeah. Anyway,
right. I think that's it, eh?
That's it. Go Borka. And just as final, congratulations to Dricus du Plessis, who won his UFC match last night. Huge win for him, beating the number 2 seed, and the number 2 seed was an Australian as well.
Yeah.
So,
Good job.